Can I have the Nathan Godfrey, Canterbury Rugby Football Union? Good morning. Bit far away.
Kia ora.
Thank you.
The Canterbury Rugby Football Union supports the Christchurch City Council prioritising a new stadium in your long-term plan. Christchurch leads the world in very few pursuits, but undoubtedly one of those is rugby. The game is in the city's DNA. As a region, Canterbury produces world-class rugby players and championship-winning teams. We certainly acknowledge that there have been other competing priorities, but as this process begins in earnest, we are simply asking for a seat at the table. We were buoyed by the Crown's decision to fast-track a business case, and we applaud the collaborative approach that the Crown and Council are taking in working with all the major stakeholders in sporting codes. The CRFU vision is to unify and serve our community. We foresee a stadium that can be used for All Black Test matches, for double-header games featuring our men's and women's championship-winning representative teams, for national sevens tournaments, for traditional midweek inter-school first 15 games, for club rugby finals, and as technology advances, we might even host our first esports event or a game of virtual rugby. I'm joined today by Sam Darry and Grace Brooker, who will share their thoughts on what a new stadium would mean to them. Sam is captain of the Christ College First 15, a school prefect, and a member of both the Canterbury Under-18 team and Crusaders Knights Academy program. Grace was a member of the Canterbury senior team that won the Wharapama Cup National Championship for the first time in 2017. She is a current member of the New Zealand Under-18 Sevens team and recently signed a Black Ferns professional contract.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Sam.
Growing up, I've watched games of rugby and concerts at the Dunedin Stadium, and the atmosphere and vibe are always amazing. I love the opportunity of being able to watch running rugby no matter the weather, with lots of points being scored. And I also loved seeing Ed Sheeran live in action and hearing the screams of thousands of fans echo through the stadium. I hope that one day my mates and I can enjoy these same experiences in Christchurch. For the last 2 years, I've also had the pleasure of playing in the traditional Christ College vs Christchurch Boys High School game. Last year, we won the match for the first time in 16 years. The crowd was jammed into one small grandstand and scattered along the sidelines. And although the atmosphere was intense, I often think about what it would be like to play in front of a large crowd of both students and old boys. My long-term dream is to play for the All Blacks, and I hope that one day I can run out in the black jersey onto the new Christchurch Stadium, my home ground, with my family in the stands watching.
I grew up playing rugby in the country and was often the only girl in the whole competition. I always got told that you won't make it, but that's just made me more determined. Last year, the Canterbury Rugby Seniors Women's team played 2 Kinraiser games at AMI Stadium. The experience was dampened when we had to warm up in the car park and use a big room at Addington for the changing room, as the stadium could not provide one. We won the Sport Canterbury Team of the Year award in 2017, which was a big confidence boost. And I recently signed a professional contract with the Black Ferns, which is a dream come true. When I received the contract, I must have read it over 500 times, and then it finally sunk in. I straight away called my parents and both started crying. I feel like women's rugby is up and coming, and I hope to get a new stadium in Christchurch so that we can showcase our athleticism and rugby skills. Thank you.
Last week, the CRFU contributed to a column in the Metropole magazine about our thoughts on the stadium, and we chose to talk about wellbeing economics. We did this to illustrate the significant role that sport plays in the community, not just rugby but sport, in the development of our values and character, and in defining who we are and how we live our lives. The power of sport is measured in the hearts and minds of the teenagers sitting beside me. To take sport for granted is to neglect the next generation. We appreciate that sport is not for everyone, but there is no denying the significant contribution it makes to a resilient city. 7 years ago, the stadium in Addington was a beacon of hope, helping rugby overcome the threat to our teams and our players and the wider community. Ironically, the solution to this risk has now given birth to a far greater risk. The temporary stadium is without doubt our greatest risk, demonstrated by the number of high-profile sports and entertainment events we have lost as a city. I think the one thing that we can all agree on is that the new multi-purpose stadium needs to be affordable to build, but it also needs to be affordable to operate for the next 50 years. This could include structuring hire terms based on a clean stadium model, allowing the tenants to meet their commercial obligations to sponsors and fans. It could also include input around how the stadium functions. Our commercial marketing and events team possess the expertise to work alongside key stakeholders to help shape a fit-for-purpose stadium. For example, contemporary hospitality products, digital technology assets, fan-friendly activation spaces, and a capacity that is scalable for both high-volume and low-volume events. These are just some of the considerations that need to start consuming our thinking and our conversations. In closing, fast forward to a warm summer evening in the year 2022. The sold-out signs are in front of a new Christchurch stadium. Our city is buzzing with anticipation, ready to write another chapter in our proud history. We will celebrate a Crusaders' victory, and we'll celebrate brave leadership and bold ambition of the people in this room today. Thank you.
Thank you. Have we got any questions? Vicky?
One of the concerns that's come through from people who don't want the stadium to be brought forward has been the cost of it. Are you guys expecting to make any, and we just heard from hockey and how much they're paying for their turfs and seeking support from the council. Are you expecting to make any financial contribution to the stadium?
As I said, I think our greatest contribution is in our expertise and our ability to help shape that business case and what that stadium eventually looks like. And maybe a question you want to put forward to the Crusaders as well, but at this stage, I'm sure. At this stage, to be really honest, our business model at the current stadium isn't sustainable, and I think I hinted at that in our written submission. So the temporary stadium right now is our greatest risk to rugby. Yeah. That was a no.
Phil?
Look, thank you, Nathan. Just with that in mind, I just wondered if you might talk with the National New Zealand Rugby Union around that question. My question, though, is when you've also referred to the risk of the AMI stadium and I guess how the future costs, say, that will be involved if a multi-use arena doesn't go ahead. Would you like to discuss that with us, please?
Yeah, I can. We have a fan experience that's declining. We've done a piece of work around the fixed fee model that we currently pay to that stadium, and it's not sustainable. So around 107% of our ticket revenue is used on paying for that stadium to actually open the gates. So 107% is not sustainable.
And do you have any figure on the future costs, say, if it needed to be maintained further? Because there'll be a building time too.
Yes, probably more a question for Christchurch Stadium Trust, but
okay.
Yeah.
No, happy to check that out further.
So.
Yeah.
Yanni?
Thank you, and thank you to you both, or all of you, for coming in, and really powerful to hear the submissions from the young people, so thanks. I'm just trying to understand if the current temporary stadium, which is a lot cheaper to operate than a permanent stadium, I presume, how does a bigger stadium with more flash fit out and that's cost us capitally a lot more, but also operationally may be bigger? How does that make it more sustainable for you?
It's about more than a grass field and 30,000 seats and a roof. That's just the shell. We're talking about the model. So, for example, Eden Park operates with the Auckland Rugby Union, and the model is around rev share. So 15% of every person's ticket when they walk in the gate goes back to the stadium. It's a conversation that we're starting to have with the Christchurch Stadium Trust, but that makes it more sustainable. The fixed fee model, the $1.23 million that rugby pays at the moment to the stadium, in my view, is not sustainable.
Right. And just
that answers your question.
So it's just based on the number of tickets sold then?
Potentially, and there's other considerations as well around us being able to extract yield from having good hospitality spaces that are flexible, from digital signage assets, Everyone's using the Forsyth Bar as a benchmark, but they have a lot of static signage. They don't have the ability to be able to activate within the bowl of the stadium. So there's other considerations that we need to start talking about.
Right, I mean, just at a high level, it seems the future of professional sports in New Zealand seems of concern. Attendances seem to be declining. The costs, player salaries seem to be going up, and we seem to be asked as a city to contribute more and more ratepayers' money into bidding with other cities around New Zealand, which obviously that spirals up the cost for us. So yeah, I'm just really interested in how we look at a sustainable model going forward. And TV rights, I guess, are in New Zealand pretty limited because of our population compared to, say, overseas.
Yeah, they are. I think you're talking specifically about All Black Test matches, and I understand that. I tried to share that today, that the CRFU is a really complex business and there's other opportunities for a lot of other events. I think that the sheer volume thing may answer the sustainability question, the opportunity to have first 15 games and national sevens tournaments played at the stadium. That certainly helps our business model.
Okay, thank you.
Look, thank you very much. Well, it's 10 minutes. I mean, the trouble is that if we go over time, we have less time for others. So I'll make sure you're the first question that you can ask to the Crusaders. Okay, well, I'm happy that you submit it afterwards. But thank you very much for coming in, Nathan. It's good to see you, and great that the young people came as well. Fantastic. And congratulations again to you.